Hello, my beautiful friends and seekers, and welcome to our second Aquarius Full Moon for the year of 2021. This is the August Aquarius Full Moon, the second of two, and we are having this full moon right at the last degree of Aquarius, the last hours of Leo season. It is here to kind of mirror our first full moon in Aquarius this year, which happened in the first hours of Leo season. And I love the symmetry of this. And every year one sign gets two full moons. This year it is Aquarius, and I am really happy about that. This is one of my favorite signs to learn from. And right now, one of the most useful energies, archetypes, ways of viewing the world that we can connect with, each of us, no matter your personal relationship to Aquarian energy. Just in general, this is a very useful, very powerful energy right now. And I think one we can all learn from and enjoy and savor. And so I'm really excited to talk about this second full moon in Aquarius. So the first full moon that we had, I talked a lot about letting go, right? Letting yourself let go, allowing yourself to change, allowing yourself to be who you are now, not feeling like you have to keep yourself being who you were 10 years ago or last year, and allowing yourself to really embrace those changes. This full moon, the key word here, the first word that came to mind as soon as I sat down with this moon is visionary. This is a visionary moon. This is about thinking beyond where we've thought before. And that sounds like a big order. It sounds like a tall order, like I'm asking you to see a color you've never seen before in your mind's eye. But I think sometimes we underestimate the amount of times we say, I'm not allowed to solve this problem. I'm not allowed to see, my growth or change is something that is valuable to me. We stop ourselves. We keep ourselves hedged in. So this full moon is going to just nudge us in the direction of opening up our heart and our minds to new ways of problem solving, new ways of seeing ourselves, and being open to allowing problems or questions to be answered and solved. And this full moon's really, really supportive of that. There's a ton of air energy going on with this full moon. And one of the other things I want to say, if you want to tap into your creative side, your free-spirited, authentic, kind of almost innocent creative side, right? You want to tap into your visionary mindset. The most important element before we get into any of this other discussion here today is to ground and be calm. You're not going to access that creative, calm, kind of playful energy that's like, why not look at this in a new way, without feeling safe and peaceful first. So often if you hear the words like visionary and high energy, it feels like you need to prepare for this moon and for life by being really kind of neurotic and on edge and have your nerves fired up and be, prepared for a lot to happen. And I would actually give the other advice: if you want to tap into this visionary energy, you want to really enjoy this Aquarian energy to the fullest, especially a full moon in Aquarius. Make sure to just do some deep breathing, go for a long walk, do some free writing, whatever it is that you do that helps you just feel like you can your whole body, your nervous system is relaxed. Do that on this full moon so that we can enjoy all the beautiful stuff that I'm about to talk to you about. So we have this full moon, 29 degrees of Aquarius opposing the sun, 29 degrees of a Leo. This is an expansive opposition. We worked with it once before this summer with the full moon in July. We're working with it again here. Now this is a very expansive energy. It's very much wants us to grow past where we've been before, break out of our containers. And once again, one thing I would say with that, don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. Like, relax into that. Don't try and get yourself tensed into enjoying the fruits of the Leo Aquarius opposition here. Relax into it. Allow yourself to notice where you're already naturally expanding. So often full moons are just culminating points. Things have already been happening. It's not like this single day is the day that you get the perfect answer. These are days that we are allowed to just reflect and culminate what's already been in progress for a few weeks. So we have this beautiful expansive opposition going on. And the moon is very close to Jupiter at 26 degrees of Aquarius. So the moon and Jupiter are having this beautiful conversation in Aquarius. Now, this is a really optimistic conversation. This is about expanding to new horizons. This is about being optimistic about what can happen. This is about really savoring what you have around you and realizing how many tools and doorways are just already sitting an arm's length away. This moon Jupiter conversation is just one of my favorites. I'm gonna get to like the master notes as soon as I kind of get through all that's going on in the sky. So we've got this energy in Aquarius. We also have this grand air trine going on during this full moon. We've got Venus in Libra, in the home sign of Libra, Saturn in Aquarius, and the North Node in Gemini. And they are making this gorgeous trine in the air signs. And this trine, when you kind of think, we just talked about this full moon that's conjunct Jupiter, very optimistic. Then we have this grand trine that is involving Venus, Saturn, and the North Node. This trine in these air signs is about commitment. It is about sitting down and saying, you know what, I'm going to let myself grow into this. I'm going to commit myself to taking care of my thoughts, taking care of my vision for my life, taking care of the way I think about myself and the people around me, the way I talk to myself, the way I envision my future, the way I envision my becoming. So there is a little sternness in this trine because Saturn is there, but in the best way. For me, this is like the best showcase of Saturn energy because it is about saying very clearly, mostly to yourself, that you are going to choose to speak to yourself with respect. You are going to choose calming, nourishing thoughts. You are going to choose to take actions that reflect that self-respect and that self-value, right? And there is so much power in just saying, I'm going to commit to that, because it is so seductive and so easy to ride the waves of despair that have kind of been washing through the world over the last year and a half. I feel like there's a new wave that's kind of floating around right now, and it's very seductive. It's very familiar for those of us who are living in this world to go to those places of despair, those places of self-destruction, even on the smallest scale, right? And this moon is really saying, okay, can we commit to staying in that visionary, open-minded mindset for ourselves? You know, not to force other people to share our opinions or to make the world perfect in a day, but can we start with just being open to having that self-respect, having that optimism, and being really, really invested in making our life a work of art, making our life a work of beauty and of giving and of creativity in everything we do, from making tea in the morning to going on a walk to having a conversation with somebody, to really making all of these things beautiful and artful and in a really authentic way that comes from each of us and the things that we have to give to the world. So this moon is really, really having us sit down with that and really recommit to it, and I love it. There's one final conversation going on during this full moon, which is Mars in Virgo is trining Uranus and Taurus. And this energy is, it's willing is what I would say. This is energy where you have that little project that you've been thinking about, open up your computer and starting that new project. You just kind of get swept on. It just kind of takes you by surprise. You get into that flow and suddenly you're writing away or whatever it is. That Mars Uranus trine is gorgeous and very much interested in taking an action step that will lead us somewhere good. So all these aspects are just gorgeous. They are supporting us. Now, with all of that in mind, that was a lot of information, right? That's a lot of information. There's a lot going on here. Let's come back to this idea of expansion and visionary energy, because once again, as I'm describing this, I'm saying, there's some surprising energy, there's breakthrough energy, there's problem-solving energy, there's innovation energy, there's this visionary kind of concept where you can maybe see your life from new vantage points, have new ideas, have new conversations, have new connections, have new doors opening. That all sounds great, but it also sounds a little bit overwhelming, right? To have all this happening on one day or a couple of days in the month. I think for me, when I think about expansion and visionary energy, the best place we can start is to notice where we stop ourselves from allowing ourselves to solve problems or allowing ourselves to think of ways to work with what we have. Now, I'm not talking about just being positive and skipping through the world, which can be a way to work with Jupiterian energy. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about the kind of pragmatic optimism. It's truly about taking a moment and noticing where we have locked ourselves away from allowing ourselves to receive help, right? Allowing ourselves to call that friend who actually knows about web design, for example, and give us a lending hand. Or in allowing that maybe there is something that can be improved in a situation, in a living situation, in a lifestyle situation that you've just said, well, there's nothing you can do. It's just terrible, right? This full moon is really encouraging us and holding us to look at those places where maybe we've been resistant to allowing helpful change to come in for us for whatever reason, right? We all have our mythologies. We all have our thought patterns that have their little circuits in our brain that come up. I know I do, and so this moon is really, we're starting there. Now, that is not to say that there aren't other more beautiful, expansive things. I think this moon is also very daydreamy, like all that air energy. We got this grand air trine. We've got Moon and Jupiter hanging out, talking in an air sign. This is a beautiful moon as well to just like use the power of your thoughts to have fun exploring, playing, having fun, thinking, daydreaming about what's possible next beyond what you have defined yourself as being, right? I mean, that's the other thing. Sometimes we can get into a loop where we say, well, this is my dream and that's all that I am. Even if maybe we've grown past the dream that we feel we need to stay committed to. Maybe we have modified it slightly. Maybe there is a different aspect of it that wants to come in. And because we still kind of have this one locked in vision of it, we want to hold on to it. This moon is really about opening up our minds, and it makes me think about one of my favorite topics or concepts that I've ever worked with all the years I've been doing this, which is the unimaginable horizon. That's the nickname I gave it, which is all those people, experiences, insights that we can't even fathom sitting here right now. Like, I'm thinking about all the friends I'm going to make over the next few years, people that I can't even imagine who they are yet, right? Like, I don't know what they look like. I don't know what different like ideas they're going to have that I've never thought of before. I don't know what they're going to like love to do or how I'm going to meet them. I just know that they're there, right? And the same thing, like, I don't know what next artistic endeavor is going to want to come through me, what next book or idea is going to come through me, but I know it's there. And part of this full moon is just calming down enough to hear the whispers from that unimaginable horizon. And that's one of probably my favorite parts about this full moon. It's not about getting all the answers. It's not about writing it all down and putting it on a spreadsheet and getting it laid out. It's about just opening up to what might be and hearing the whispers of it. And 3 cards wanted to come out all together. 5 of Pentacles, the Hermit, and the Lovers. So we are on a little journey here. When I think about that visionary energy, and I think about that expansion energy and that creative energy and that playful energy, that is this Aquarius full moon. It is so playful. It is so jubilant. It's really about connecting with your playful inner child, your inner whimsical creative force. When I think about this 5 of Pentacles, that's the part of ourselves that's gotten a little cynical, a little resistant to optimism. And I'm talking about that pragmatic optimism that's like, look, I do have options. I can pick up that phone to make that phone call. I can pick up that pen and put something to paper. I can open that door. I can value myself as I age or as I change, right? So this 5 of Pentacles is a reminder that there may be a part of you that doesn't even want to go toward this Aquarius full moon, that doesn't want to go to this Jupiterian optimism, expansion, visionary energy, and that is very skeptical about it, is very concerned and wants to protect you and wants to kind of keep you separate from that. And one thing that I always notice when this card comes up, you really got to take care of this part of yourself. Just be gentle. And one of the ways that I do when I'm feeling some resistance, from about the optimism or about the possibilities is I will say, okay, to the part of myself that is resisting, we don't have to believe any of this. We don't have to make this take us anywhere, but let's just see. Let's just see what happens if we try. And this is just one aspect of myself, and I think many of us have it. I think almost all of us have one part of ourselves that can be in resistance and that can feel far from the divine and far from that sense of safety and connection to the universe. And when that part wants to kind of resist, I just tell it that. Let's just try and see what happens. I'm not telling you that this has to be everything all the time, but let's just see what happens. So that's the first thing that's coming up as a message. And then we have this inner seeking, right? The Hermit. We are on the verge of Virgo season. And as the energy of this full moon wanes off, we are going to enter Virgo season very shortly after. A number of hours after this full moon, we will be in Virgo season. And so there's kind of this merging. We are closing out Leo season. We are closing out our lessons that we have learned during this Leo season, during this time that is about authentic self-expression, that is about tapping into our inner creative force. And we are heading into Virgo season. But the Hermit also reminds me of what I was saying about getting really calm and quiet. If you want that really potent, creative life force energy to move through you, the best way to do that is go to your home address, take a deep breath, seek inward, and notice how that moves you. And that is one of the biggest messages about the Hermit. This is an inner seeking in a vast landscape of within, and a calming energy. And when we go to our home address, when we take a breath and we sit at home with ourselves, like, and not literally in our houses, but in home in ourselves, the things that are meant for us know where to find us. We're no longer scattered into a million pieces, trying to be 5 different people, trying to run and do all the tasks and check off everything on our to-do list. We are home. We are at our home address, so the pieces and the ideas that want to find us can find us. That is a huge message with Virgo and with the Hermit energy. But the final message here comes back to the spirit of this moon that maybe I haven't given enough attention to actually in this discussion, but it is there. And it is that with Jupiter and the moon conjunct, with Mars and Uranus trining, with these energies that are very much about surprise openings, like openings and resolutions and conversations that you needed, maybe you didn't even know you needed them, maybe you didn't even know you wanted them, that are coming in. And for me, the Lovers speaks to that sense that there are good things coming in with this full moon. There is connection, there is love, there is commitment, there is conversation, there are breakthroughs going on during this full moon. And the wind is blowing. I'm outside listening to the jays sing and to the hummingbirds fly by and the ravens talk. There's a lot going on out here today, you guys. But the Lovers is speaking to the optimism of this moon, the breakthroughs, the connection, the love. And that's beautiful. I mean, it's just simple, right? Like, sometimes things are simple. As much as I've given you all these transits and all these aspects and all these conversational pieces, what it comes back to, again, for me, is which version of the world do we want to tap into for ourselves and the way that we move through the world? Do we want to remain pessimistic, overwhelmed, in despair about everything, the pain in the world, that other humans are suffering around the world, the confusion, all of these aspects that are a true part of our human existence, right? Or are we going to start speaking to ourselves with respect and love? Are we going to start to look around and see what tools we do have at our fingertips? And we're talking small stuff. We're talking very basic things, including just deep breath. And take that moment to re-empower ourselves to be those beautiful active agents we want to be in the world, not only in making a beautiful like creative existence for us and the people that are closest to us, but also for how we act and move through the world. And that is really the question that this full moon is bringing to each of us in our own time. And it's one that I think about every day right now, because I do have an inner skeptic, like everybody. And I have an inner dictator, I guess you would call her, who is a lot more like, well, how is that going to help anybody, you know? And she doesn't get to drive most of the time, I have to be honest, but she is there, and there are flies everywhere, you guys. And there are times when I have to really sit down and say, you cannot be in the driver's seat. We've got to have the right leadership in this situation going forward. We have to have the right people, right energies from within me heading the way. And we want to tap into those for this full moon, so that the rest of this year and moving into 2022, we are coming from that place of creative flow. And creativity looks like so much more than the fine arts. It is the fine arts, but it's also all the details of our lives. It's how we show up to our communities. It's how we show up to our friends. It's how we show up to ourselves in the quiet moments when no one else is there. How are we showing up to ourselves? And this full moon is illuminating all of these themes. I love it. This is like my favorite topic to talk about. Aquarian energy is my favorite energy in so many ways. Like I have a lot of favorites, let's be honest, but Aquarian energy for me is the one that allows us to access a level of vision that can't be found anywhere else. And this is it, my friends. This is what it's all about. Let's take this message and move through the rest of 2021 with that integrity to peace and joy that we can bring into the details of our lives, into time alone with ourselves, and into the world. That's what I'm all about. I hope to see you on Patreon. We're going to be doing an activation for this full moon. I'm going to be sharing some conversations with me and my husband about how we each perceive the world coming up very soon. There's a lot of extras. We have a lot of fun over there. It's super cozy. I'd love to see you there. I'd love to see you here. Hang out with me. We're going to be having these September readings coming out really soon, and I will leave all my links so you know where to find me. I love you, my friends. Have a beautiful rest of Leo season and an amazing Aquarius full moon. I am going to be loving this one. Sending you all my love.